Hello and welcome to another episode of GrangeTV. We have with us a very special guest with Mr. Chris Leben. He's a former WEC champion, UFC veteran, bare knuckle boxing veteran, inaugural season of the Ultimate Fighter alumni, and also referee and judge, I believe. Am I correct? You qualified to be. All right, cool. Thank you so much for being here. Did I miss anything there? Did any other things?
Coach, dad, trainer, yeah, a lot. I mean, I'm a man of many hats, it feels like.
You know, that's one thing with you. I don't know exactly what the term would be, but watching, because I've watched the whole, I've watched you fight, I've watched the whole thing, and I think would the term be growth? I think was one of the craziest things that I've had a chance to experience watching you, is your growth as a person from, the Ultimate Fighter days, even before that, to who you are today. Exactly like what you said. You're a dad, you're a coach, so many other things. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, I mean, when I was on the Ultimate Fighter, I was a kid more or less from the wrong side of the tracks. I had a rough upbringing, and I had no clue how fucked up I was. I had no clue that alcohol was an issue in my life. Everybody in my family starts drinking at noon, as long as it's noon, we're good. You're good, and then in hindsight, going back and watching the show, realizing, oh man, I've actually got some issues. I didn't realize that I had all those issues pre-Ultimate Fighter, and then, continued to struggle with a lot of them, in and out of the cage throughout the entirety of my UFC career. But, that's what life is about. Life is about growth. Life is about progression. Life is about hopefully not ending up where you started, and hopefully, my child will have a lot more opportunity than I did because of the growth that I've been able to make, and hopefully I'll be able to, at least this is how I choose to view it. It gives me a little bit of, I guess, solace, hopefully, with some of the mistakes that I've made in the past, I'll be able to help some people out so they don't make them as bad as I did. I got a lot of young fighters that I work with, and, they kind of look up to me sometimes. I'd like to think, at least, so when it comes to guidance and stuff, they tend to listen a little bit more than they do to maybe mom or dad. So, I feel like, for me now, it's, a lot of what I've went through has kind of put me in a position to be able to help out, speak out, and, not only focus on my own recovery, but help other people with theirs.
Yeah, you speak about, making mistakes. How much do you think it was actually you made mistakes, or you made the best decisions you could with the information that you had at the time, if you will? Like, if you only know blue, you can only pick blue, if you know what I mean. So how much was that a mistake, right? Or versus, if you speak a little bit about the environment and that with which you grew up in, so how limited were your options, so to speak?
In hindsight, they were mistakes. Also, in hindsight, looking back, would I change anything? Probably not, because I am where I'm at now, and like I said, I choose reason. So, ultimately, everything that I did is that I made, and hope for going where I'm aspiring to go. Yeah, definitely wouldn't say I made the best decisions with the information I had. I made some pretty fucking bad decisions, man. Flat out. Like, there's no way around that one.
As a young guy, and, before fighting, or as a young guy, are you talking about, or are you talking about as you got older?
As I got older. I mean, as a kid, I made some not so good decisions, but yeah, I would probably attribute those to, there comes a point in your life, and I don't know exactly what that age is, 18, 21, 30, 40, when you got to stop blaming your parents and your childhood for the decisions that you make, you know. And looking back, I still made some bad decisions, and I still used some excuses. You know, those are on me. Those are on me, and I learned from that, you know, ultimately. You know, it doesn't matter how traumatic or terrible your life was. Life goes on, you know. What are you going to do now? How are you going to move forward? How are you going to better yourself and help others and, you know, be the best that you can be, instead of continuing to blame, you know, the decisions and the choices that you made which were wrong in the past.
How much of a catalyst for that was The Ultimate Fighter, when you were able to actually see yourself back? Because not many people get to actually see themselves back on TV or whatnot.
It was, I mean, really, that's kind of what I was alluding to, was that was the first time I really realized it, you know, being back home, sitting around watching it with my friends, realizing, fuck, I'm drunk, my outbursts, you know. Most of us, you know, and at least at that time, didn't have a camera following us around, you know, 24 hours a day, you know, whether we were sober or drunk, you know, and filming every decision that we made. But to have that done at that age, you know, I think I was 23 when The Ultimate Fighter was filmed. You know, it was definitely an eye opener, you know, and you know, so I said, okay, well, maybe I'll just drink a little bit less, and I'll do this and that. And I tried one thing, it didn't work out. I kind of half-assed tried something else that didn't work out too well, you know. And then, you know, and then slowly but surely, you know, you start to tighten things up in your life. Kind of like, you know, they say a tree doesn't blow over with the first gust of wind, right? It's got to rock back and forth for a while before it's finally going to fall over. And I think that's kind of the story when it comes to me choosing the right path. I didn't just decide to start choosing the right path one day. I had to make a bad decision, make a right decision, and make two bad ones, and then go, that didn't work out, you know. So just slow and steady kind of a deal.
How do you reconcile whether it helped you being in the public eye or whether it made it much more difficult? How do you, like, the only reason I say that is because I was with Robert Whittaker on The Ultimate Fighter when he was going to fight Gastelum. So I was with him as one of his coaches there. And I wanted fucking nothing to do with the cameras. And that was like 2 years ago. I tried to be like, if the cameras came into the room, I tried to go the other way. And I don't drink. My grandfathers were alcoholics, man. So I had that. I got to like kind of get that second hand. So I've always stayed away from it. I've been lucky in that regard. But all of those things combined, I was very cognizant, but I was like almost 40 by that time. Well, you were a young guy. How cognizant were you as well? This is going to be that public. And how much were you aware of that?
I mean, ultimately on that first season of Ultimate Fighter, we didn't even know if it was going to get on TV. I had no idea. I remember telling Dana White once, like, man, maybe somebody will end up buying me some free beers once I get back to Portland for the show, you know? Like, that's like the pinnacle of what I thought it was going to be. I didn't realize I wasn't going to be able to go to the mall without being stopped a dozen times. You know, I didn't realize, you know, it was going to explode and do what it did for me and others' careers and the UFC as well. So really, I would say, I had no idea, you know, but then later on, you know, when I was in the UFC and I knew the power of the media, yeah, there were some tough times, because the press is a funny thing, you know, all it takes is one person to say some bullshit and then 20 other people will quote that person, even though they know that what they said was wrong. Because now they're not necessarily slandering it. You know what I mean? So, you know, a lot of things, you know, were pulled out of, you know, that really upset me at the time, you know, and, ultimately you just got to learn, man. I can't focus on that, And so what I did is, I never got on the internet. I never looked up people talking about my upcoming fight. I never looked up videos or shit on my opponent. I mean, I watched tape. Before I fight with my coaches, watch all their fights once, and then maybe go back and watch them one more time, break them down, specific details that we're going to train for. And that's it. Then I live in my bubble. That's how I did it. So that, I didn't let the hype or the media or whether I did something right or something wrong really affect me that much.
If we were at school together, who were you at school? What kind of kid were you at school? So if we were in year 11 together, we're in year 11.
I was the kid that was probably a little bit too crazy for a lot of the other kids to hang out with. I mean, I was a skater kid, and then, I got tripped in the hallway by a fucking jock my freshman year. That's the whole reason I went out for wrestling, was just because I held a grudge against him for that. So I went out for wrestling the next day. Sophomore year, I ended up beating him for his varsity spot, and he quit, and then I found out that I really liked wrestling. Up until that point, I did a little boxing in middle school, but no real athletics. Obviously I didn't really, my mom didn't watch me, so I didn't have a curfew or I didn't have to go home, any one day or another day. Nobody thought I was going to graduate. I was the kid that, was taking acid on mushrooms on the weekend and, partying and, but somehow, some way pulled off getting through high school and graduating,
Did you say
somehow?
Did you say that, I don't know if this is true or not. You said you graduated, but you weren't able to read or write. Is that true?
That's correct. Yes.
I have a couple of, I have a couple of friends that happened with them. With you, was it, how did that happen? Like why and how?
Because I grew up in a meth house and, the ERC the special ed teachers kind of told me I was retarded. My mom never read a book to me. I went to school and everybody already had kind of written me off as being a lost cause. There was one teacher in middle school that really helped me out, and I jumped up a few grade levels in 1 year working with her in 8th grade, 7th and 8th grade. But turns out, man, I read all the time now. I read books all the time. I meet with groups and I read out loud to everybody else. I read and write just fine. They just told me I couldn't do it, and so I didn't try. They told me I'd never be able to do it, so I didn't try. And it really affected me. I really felt like I was dumber than the other people in the room. And probably one of the things that ultimately pushed me into fighting, I had something to prove, that I was worthy, that I was, more than just, I was going to end up being more than just a tweaker working at a gas station, that drove me to train my ass off every day in the gym and work, and then back then, that's when MySpace came out, and, all of a sudden I had the right motivation, trying to get laid to sit in front of the computer and figure out how to spell words because I didn't want to look stupid. And then now everybody was texting, and then it was got to text with girls. So then I had to start texting, and I'm looking shit up and texting. And then, slowly but surely, I just figured it out on my own that way.
Do you remember a moment where you couldn't read and then you could read? Hello.
Recently, actually, there was I was meeting with a group of men for recovery, and there's about 10 of us. And up until then, I had never read out loud to anybody, to any group, anybody ever. Well, except for my sponsor, you know, I'd read out loud to him, and you know, I always pass when it came to my turn. I'd say pass. You know, I don't want to read out loud. And then, you know, just a couple months ago, I was like, fuck it. You know, I might as well read. And I read it perfect. Still broke down crying, and, you know, it was still pretty heavy, you know, and I think a lot of people probably didn't understand why that was so difficult for me, because for so long I felt lesser than because of that handicap. You know, and then, you know, maybe I missed a word or two, but it wasn't terrible, you know, so, but it was like almost like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders, and I've read every week since. One
of the reasons I'm a teacher by trade, so I teach him what would be in the US would be something like junior college, like something like that. I've been teaching for about 15 years, and that's, we teach with all different communities, some communities that are marginalized. And like the story that you're saying to me has been played out so many times, you know what I mean? Like it's such a, you know, and just hearing you speak and people being able to see how far in your journey and how far you've gone. Honestly, man, to me, it's one of the best stories in MMA. Like when I hear it, it's not just about getting belts and that. Like I look at the growth and then you having the courage actually to even talk about that and to talk about some of the stuff that people don't want to talk about it, man. Like they want to see Chris Leben's a monster and he'll kill people and he'll bash people, but you're a fucking human being, you know, and you have your own challenges. And so,
I appreciate,
man, you know, not being able to read.
Embarrassing.
What's that?
Yeah.
Sorry, what did you say?
It can be embarrassing to stand. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can. Yeah.
You there?
Yep.
Okay, sorry. That, you know, it can be embarrassing to stand up and tell a bunch of people you weren't able to read. You know, you didn't learn how to read like everybody else. It was for me, you know. But like I said earlier in the interview, you know, hopefully that by passing on what I've been through, I can help somebody else. And I mean, that's the way that I find my solace for everything that I've gone through.
Man, not being able to read is one thing, but being able to teach yourself to read as an adult, I can't even imagine that, you know what I mean? Because like, I don't know, for me, I'm trying to learn to surf now, you know, and I watch the little kids that go past me on the boards and they're like 6 or 7 years old and everyone's super nice, you know, and they tell me this is what you have to do. And then I see like old ladies go past me, you know, when you're paddling up and I'm struggling so hard. For them, they can't remember learning to surf. For me, I can't remember not being able to learn to read. Like I could always read because I was very lucky. My mum was always like, blah, 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 blah. So I can't imagine having like to paddle out, so to speak, you know what I mean, as an adult for reading, you know what I mean? Like, and what the courage that would take, man, I take my hat off to you, man. Like that is one of the biggest things I admire. Fuck your fight career, you know, no disrespect, but that to me is like takes balls of steel, you know what I mean?
What you said there is a good point because, you know, I don't remember learning a double leg. You know, I remember being in YMCA wrestling in first grade or whatever, you know, and, you know, I've always known one, you know, how to shoot a double or a single leg, you know, and I'm, you know, still to this day, you know, sometimes I get people that can't get it. And just like you talked about surfing, I have to remind myself, hey, this doesn't come easy for everybody. They didn't learn it when they were a kid, you know, where I see some coaches get frustrated and yell and maybe belittle the people a little bit, you know. I always try to, you know, be light on them and just keep helping them out because, you know, because of, you know, like you said about the surfing, those similar experiences.
Did you, you finished high school and then you enlisted in the army, am I correct?
That's correct.
They told you were going to be able to wrestle, but did you go AWOL then?
I did. So, I had believe it or not, I had a couple colleges looking at me for wrestling, and offered me to go there. But you're not going to go to college if you can't read, right? So, the next thing was, I ran into a wonderful, I ran into a wonderful recruiter, and, he's like, man, just, wrestle for the Army, And, he said they would send the scout out to watch me. He said they did. Whether they really did or not, I don't know. But ultimately, I did well in basic training. And then, I ended up shooting expert and having, 300 PTs. So I got selected to go to the 82nd Airborne. I went to airborne school. And then I got to the 82nd Airborne, and I went to my first sergeant, and I said, okay, I'm ready to go try out for the wrestling team now. And he said, well, we're understaffed in your position. We're getting ready to deploy here in 9 months, and we really need you, so you can't go.
Oh,
And I was working on helicopters 12 hours a day, and a young Chris Leben didn't understand that he doesn't always get to do what he wants to do. So I got in my car and I drove across the country. Ultimately, I ended up in Corvallis, Oregon, or Eugene, I can't remember, but it was a Civil War football game, and I was at a frat party. Got in a fight, got thrown in jail, spent some time down there. Then I got shipped out to military jail. That sucked. And then ultimately when I got out of that, that's about when I started at Team Quest.
What's the difference between mainstream jail and military jail?
A lot. So they don't have to treat you the way they do in military jail. They had us I was in Fort Sill, Oklahoma. They had us in these old World War II barracks with no windows. It was the middle of winter. It was freezing. They would let us inside just to sleep a few hours. Then we had to go stand outside all day. In the morning, they put us on a cattle truck, drive us down. We'd stand at attention for 2 or 3 hours, try to eat breakfast for 4 minutes, and then stand outside, back on the cattle truck, stand at attention for a few more hours, lunch, stand outside, back on the cattle truck, stand at attention for a few more hours, dinner, stand outside, and then go in, get a couple hours sleep, and then you're back to standing outside. There were no fences or anything. I looked, they said, you are in the middle of an artillery base. Closest road is about 20 miles away. You can go ahead and try to run if you want. You might get blown up. If you do get away, you're going to get at least 20 years in regular jail, so we don't recommend it. Nobody tried. Nobody tried.
So is it, out of the two, which is the preferable one, normal jail or military jail, from your opinion?
Not being in jail at all.
Fuck, of course. No, I'm just trying to reconcile the standing up for hours and the cattle truck and all that. Is normal jail like that?
No, regular jail is much better. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
I get regular jail.
Because I agree with your first thing that
you got a phone, you can take a shower, we didn't take showers, we didn't have phones, there was no extra food, there was no rec time or workout time, or it was just stand there. No benches, nothing, just stand there. It sucked.
That's insane. That's why I when you said that, I was thinking that sounds even worse than normal jail, the one you were talking about. And normal jail sounds horrible, but that one seems to have taken the cake. You're a referee now, right? Or you're qualified to be a referee. Can you speak about that? Because you don't see a lot, like heaps and heaps of fighters become referees, but you hear a lot of fighters and a lot of people complain about referees and judges, but not many of them actually go off and do it, which, by the way, I think would be such a hard job. Can you speak about what it's like refereeing?
Yeah. So I've been reffing here amateurly in California for maybe a little over 3 years, 3.5 years or so. It seems like, a couple times a month I'm somewhere reffing a show. And I ref and judge. It's fucking hard, man. To be a referee in California, you have to pass either Herb Dean or Big John McCarthy's course. I took Herb's. I'm still surprised I passed. It was extremely difficult. Then you have to, get aboard with CAMO, the California Organization of Martial Arts. And you have to shadow a ref for 10 shows before you finally get a ref on your own. And, it's, number one is fighter safety, and you're in there making split second decisions. Now, I, like everybody, thought that I would be the perfect ref. I thought, you know what? I got 50 something fights. I've cornered hundreds of fights. I've been watching 1 million fights. I can ref no problem. And then you get in there and you realize it's a whole different set of skills, and it's not something that it's like fucking juggling. It doesn't matter how many times you watch somebody juggle. Until you get out there and drop some balls, you're not going to learn how to do it, and that's been my experience reffing, and so it's been, I continue to try to, I look at it just like I always look at, fighting or martial arts, after every, match that I ref, I go, what worked, what didn't work, what could I improve on? I meet with the other referees, we communicate, we have an open line of dialogue, hey, I think you were a little too close to the action there, maybe a step back, you would have been able to see what was going on, you know what I mean? See a little bit more, hey, you gotta look to your judges for that, you gotta, probably would have brought the doctor in, there's so much going on, and it's so easy, especially, like a fight that comes to mind is, the Robbie Lawler Van Askren fight, when you hear the commentators going, he's out. And then, 2 seconds later, he wasn't out. That was a terrible stoppage. It's like, well, look, as the ref, you don't get to do that. You don't get a flip flop. You got to make the right decision one time, and ultimately going back and watching that fight, I think Herb made the right decision the way his arm had went down. But, that's just an example of, you have to always be alert, always on point. And I think people are, a little bit hard on referees. Now, judges, on the other hand, I think, not all refs and judges are created equally. I think that there needs to be a little more stringent. I would like to see every state adhere to the same standards as California or Nevada. I would like to see every referee and judge passing one of these certified courses, not just, through knowing somebody, or having been a boxing judge, being allowed to like, our sport is still young, and it's continuing to grow. We've made a lot of changes in the last decade, and I think in the next 10 years, there's a lot more changes going to happen, and that, and that's because we know it's not perfect right now. We're continuing to strive to make it better. If there's one thing I'd like to see, it's that all of the states be on the same selective process for referees and judges and adhere to the same standards that you see in California, Nevada, and some other states where you have to pass one of these certified courses. You have to take a test and prove that you know how to judge. The difference between a 10-9 round and a 10-8 round. I think that we're on that road. I think that's going to happen. It's just going to take a little bit more time.
How hard is it to judge a fight under the current system where you have to sit next to the. Can you talk to people about that, because people don't actually know what judging is?
I truly enjoy reffing. I love reffing. I judge. Not gonna lie, don't really like it. And here's why I don't like it, because it is subjective. Because somebody can say, well, I scored that round 10-9 this way because this, and that. I gave a little more value to this guy doing this than that guy doing that. And of course, me being a fighter, I always think I know best. I think most people do. Sometimes it frustrates me when people don't see the fight the same way that I saw the fight. But then other times people don't see the fight the way I saw the fight. And then when I listen to their logic behind why they scored it that way, and I go, I get it. That makes sense. Okay. That is well within the confines of the rules to have scored it that way. So the problem is, it's not a surefire thing. Judging a fight isn't like scoring a basketball game. You don't get a 2 or a 3. You know what I mean? Like they got more baskets than the other team. They won. That is not how scoring a fight works. So it is subjective, and that's going to be an issue that hopefully we can tighten up, but it's never going to be completely gone.
Okay, I'm conscious of the fact that you're pressed for time. I just want to ask you about these upcoming fights that we have here. Costa versus Adesanya. Who do you think and how?
Man, I like Stylebender, dude. I think right now he's kind of on fire. I think he's going to use that range. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, of course. Gaethje and Nurmagomedov, and how?
Gaethje and who?
Khabib.
I'm trying to remember. Oh, and Khabib. Okay, yeah. Fuck, I'm excited to see that one.
Yeah, me too.
I think Khabib's old school, take him down, ground and pound, wrestle, grind him, it's pretty unstoppable right now. Gaethje's got the power in the hands to do it, though.
He's a Division I wrestler too.
Yeah. I gotta. That's a tough one, man. But I gotta go with Khabib. But that is going to be a good fight to watch. There's one thing for sure: that fight will be exciting.
Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr.
I think Tyson. I think Tyson's gonna get it. Roy looks good though, man, and he came in the gym not that long ago. I saw him. He stayed in shape. He's still working out.
He was in the gym with you.
Roy never really let himself get out of shape the way that Tyson did.
Right.
But if you go back and you watch Roy's last few fights, I think his chin is a little suspect over the years. He's got a lot of wear and tear on him. I think the longer it goes, the better it is for Roy. Let's put it that way.
Was Roy in the gym with you, like in the same gym, training with you?
Yeah. He just stopped by. We have a great boxing program down at the arena, my old gym, and he was down there talking to some guys. So look good. He looks healthy. He always stays in shape, But I still think, but Roy was great. Don't get me wrong. He was great, but he was never Mike Tyson.
Right.
You know what
I mean? And one little thing before we go. I was watching your documentary and it said you liked training and everything more than you liked the actual fight. And I think that's something that a lot of fans wouldn't know about you? Because like when you watch you fight, and even when your demeanor and that, it looks like you love fighting, maybe not so much a training, but you said you loved the training and the camaraderie in the gym and that more than you liked fighting. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. Yeah. Yeah. Fighting is stressful, man. You got to cut all that weight. That sucks. There's there's all the cameras, there's all the hype, all the stress. Then you go out there, and you got to hurt somebody. You got to hurt somebody because they're trying to hurt you, and that's your guys' jobs. That's what I signed up to do, but it's tough. My favorite part of any fight is getting my hand raised at the end, flat out. During the fight, I'm fighting for my life, man. I'm trying to get them before they get me. That's the way that is. But see, the thing about it is, the fight is the measuring stick. You don't know if what you're doing works unless you actually test it. Like I said with reffing, I whenever I fight, I go, what worked, what didn't work, what needs improvement. And that doesn't matter if I won. It doesn't matter if I lost. And that's also part of facing your fears. You put your time and energy, as much time and energy as I put into martial arts, I needed to know for me that it worked and that, I needed to compete, so I like the effect the fight has. I like the effect that it had on me as a person, on overcoming fear and adversity, on focusing and driving towards a goal. But the actual 15 minutes of throwing in there, anybody that tells you that's really fun, I doubt that. I doubt they're having a blast. It's not like hanging out at the water park. You know what I'm saying? It's intense. It's highly, highly intense. And it's a great memory to have, but I don't know that I would define that as fun.
Do you miss it? Because you retired due to a heart condition, and then you went back to bare knuckle fighting and that. Did you miss fighting? Was that?
Yeah, I miss training for the fight.
But would you prefer to fight bare knuckles?
I actually really ultimately, after my cardiologist, I said, hey, would you clear me to fight? She said yes. About a week later is when I got a message from Dave Feldman about fighting in bare knuckle. And at first I told him no way. I went back and looked at it on YouTube and I went, dude, this fucking sport is made for me, man. This is exciting, and I got to do it. I want to cross that off the bucket list as far as being a martial artist goes, fighting with no gloves at all, and really it was a pretty good experience. It feels kind of like the old days of the UFC when you weren't really sure if what you were doing was legal or not, so to be able to say I was part of that, one of the first waves of bare knuckle fighters in 150 years in the United States. I think it's pretty cool. That's something that I'll be able to carry with me forever.
Physically, is it harder? Sorry?
Go ahead.
No. I was just going to ask you, physically, is it harder trauma to your face, to your hands? Which one's harder?
I think both. I shattered a knuckle on Phil Baroni's head. Luckily, that punch knocked him out because I wasn't going to hit with that hand again. That's for sure. I broke my hand numerous times in fights, and it hasn't really bothered me till after they cut off my wraps. But when you explode a knuckle, that is a different story. So, it is harder on the hands. You do, and the funny thing is people will tell you, oh, it's more precise. You got to focus on where you're. Bullshit. You're in a fist fight, man. You're throwing as hard as you possibly can. You know what I mean? At least me. As far as the trauma to the face goes, there's definitely less on the brain. Definitely more lacerations. It's uglier. That's for sure. That first fight, that first show that I was on, I mean, when you went backstage, it looked like a freaking Civil War med tent, you know. Everybody was leaking. Everybody was cut open. You know, my last fight, I got a broken orbital and I had 36 stitches. I had a cut here, that stitched the side of my nose back on. It was ugly. But, you know, but for a guy like me that doesn't really get knocked out, that just continues to take punches, I think probably safer, to be honest with you.
Because when you fight, like, especially with 4-ounce gloves, it's like perfect for brain damage. Like your hand gets wrapped like in a cast, and then the glove goes over the top of that, and you can still punch hard and fast with 4 ounces. So, and it protects your hands. So people don't understand like the trauma that's occurring like inside. And with bare knuckles, you can't. It doesn't have the same effect, does it? Like, I don't know. You tell me, I suppose.
You got a little bit of weight to that glove and that hand wrap. It's got a little more density to it. You know, that especially the UFC glove, that foam is real hard. It's got that. It's dense when it hits you, and yeah, I think it's more concussion. I would say that than just the feel is different. Getting hit with that than getting hit with a bare knuckle. Getting hit with a bare knuckle, so it'll snap you back a little bit, but it's more like I almost want to say like getting stabbed, kind of. You know, like boom, you get hit. It didn't feel like much, but then you're leaking. You're gonna, you know, any little jab is gonna cut you. You know, you're gonna leak for sure. You know, ultimately, what happens then is you know, you're not going to see nearly you know, the volume of head trauma in a bare knuckle fight as you are in a 5-round UFC bout against 2 strikers. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to take a lot more, I think, damage to the brain. It's going to affect them cognitively, you know, where aesthetically, you know, yeah, you might walk away with a scar, you know, with more scars from bare knuckle, but you know, it is what it is.
All right. Chris, I'm just conscious of the fact that you have to go, kind of caught you in a rush. I could talk to you forever, man. But look, thank you so much for giving up your time and that, and I really appreciate it. And I'm sure people are going to take a lot from your interview.
Thanks, man. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
No worries, man. Hey, and like I said to you off camera before, that little kid of yours, Liam, that's his name?
Yes.
He's a beautiful little boy, man. He looks like you, but he's beautiful. So I don't even know how that happened. But but yeah, no, man. Congratulations on you and your family and everything, man, and everything you're doing. And I genuinely wish you the best, man.
Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it.
Take care, mate. Thank you so much.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right. You have a